All right. Well, good morning, everyone. 早晨,早上好. My name is Noah Fraser. I'm based in Beijing this morning, and I'm the Canada-China Business Council's Managing Director for China. Very pleased to represent the CCBC team from our 7 chapters across Canada and China. I see a couple of my regional chapter directors are joining us today. But firstly and foremost, thanks very much to the Trade Commissioner Services at Global Affairs Canada for putting this series together and inviting us to partner up again on this initiative. The cleantech sector has long been an important one for CCBC and TCS. It fits very well in that model of Canada having globally competitive technology, R&D, design innovation, and combined with China, of course, offering a massive policy-driven economy to engage the companies that provide that expertise. Today's topic, green building, is an extremely relevant one. It has seen explosive growth over the past decade or so in China and Hong Kong as the country's commercial building policies continue to develop. Furthermore, there's been a significant maturing of environmental awareness that increases the demand for stronger regulations to mitigate the emissions. Many of us are not aware, but commercial buildings are a far greater contributor to climate change than many of us realize. Fortunately, we're joined today by an extremely qualified group of experts who are going to shed light on some of the opportunities in this field, mostly in Hong Kong specifically. For Canadian companies, as always, the big question is how to find the right project and the right partner. You have a lot of fantastic tools in your toolbox with the trade commissioners across the many posts in Greater China, and specifically Hong Kong-based resources like Patricia Elliott and Fatima Lai. CCBC can help on the B2B side. We'll be continuing our cross-China roadshows later this year and into the next, where we'll be visiting 8 Tier 2 cities from across the country to engage with investors and partners there. But any CCBC related inquiries, feel free to reach out to me directly. You can find me on ccbc.com. Most importantly, very happy to have had the chance to warm up the crowd for my friend Patricia Elliott. You're a senior trade commissioner on the Cleantech file, among many others, in Hong Kong, who is hosting today's session. So Patricia, over to you.
Thank you so much, Noah. And I'd like to start by thanking all the participants that are joining us from Canada, especially on the East Coast, where it's getting a little later. And just to say that I'm actually having my coffee this morning from Salt Spring Island coffee mug, so representing the West as well. Big thank you to CCBC and to Noah and his team for helping us put this together and providing the technical platform, much appreciated. As Noah mentioned, this is a key TCS program, and it's part of a series of webinars that we're doing on clean tech technology across the country. And we're looking at different areas within China, Hong Kong, and Macau, where we believe that there's opportunities for Canadian companies to come and do business here. So if there's some of you that are not familiar with the TCS or the Trade Commissioner Service, just very briefly, we work on priority sectors here that are priority sectors for Canada, whether it's clean tech, ICT, infrastructure, life sciences, agri-food, agri-tech, and education are amongst some of them. But there's, every territory, every one of our missions has different sectors, some of them identical across, but they reflect the opportunities in that territory that also match Canadian capabilities back in Canada. So our primary role is to find those opportunities for Canadian companies in Canada, take those opportunities to you and help you do business here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand this over to Fatima, because she's our resident expert here on clean tech, and let her talk to you about the actual territory here and where she sees the opportunities.
Thank you, Patricia. Hi, everybody. I'm the Fatima Lai, the Trade Commissioner here. I'm sure some of you know me, but those are new friends, just let me know when you need help. I will start for my presentation on the Hong Kong policy and initiative, so that you can have an understanding on why government in Hong Kong and private sector are working together to help to address the climate change in Hong Kong. Climate change is real, and the Paris Agreement on climate change applies to Hong Kong under China. So to make Hong Kong a low carbon city, the Hong Kong government has released major climate change related policy and plan. You can see on slide 1, there's a couple of initiatives. I don't want to read it out. That demonstrate the government's commitments and action in addressing climate change with the support of the key stakeholders in the community. Say, for example, the Hong Kong Climate Action Plan 2030 Plus set an ambitious carbon intensity target of 65% to 70% by 2030, using the 205 as the baseline. So on waste, this is a crisis for Hong Kong too. The city produced over 11,000 tons of municipal solid waste per day. So this is equivalent to 1.53 kilogram per person per day, and the waste recovery rate is only 30%. So the landfill is being filled up, and we have to find a way to treat the municipal waste. So on the infrastructure and building projects in Hong Kong, we have a couple of mega projects coming up. So we realize that innovation are key in addressing climate change. With that, Hong Kong government has allocated resources to integrate smart technology to make energy, water, material resources, transport, and government services more efficient. So this is the major agenda of the Hong Kong Smart City Blueprint 2.0. The Hong Kong 2030 Plus is also a major strategy to guide development of infrastructure. A good example is the Lantau Tomorrow Visions, proposing a massive reclamation for expanding infrastructure to connect the world and the Greater Bay Area, with a predicted cost of about Canadian dollar 84 billion. So we look at the opportunities. So from what the brief introduction, there's a list of the opportunity we have summarized for your references. So sustainable design and green procurement have become practical guidelines for government projects and also considered by private developers. You'll hear from our next speaker, Swire Properties, about this. Sick building syndrome are not new to Hong Kong. The coronavirus is bringing the IAQ, indoor air quality, into the spotlight. Hospitals, F&B, retail, entertainments, and commercial are setting strategies to minimize infection. So buildings in Hong Kong account for about 90% of electricity consumption. Government and private sector are working hard to improve and promote energy efficiency in buildings and public infrastructure. So lastly, transitional to low carbon society requires dramatic changes. As Hong Kong is an international finance center, the government has launched programs to promote green financing for this move. So due to limited manufacturing in Hong Kong, many products are imported. So that means it presents potential market demand for overseas technology and equipment supplies. However, the Canadian firms are in strong competition from mainland China, Japan, US, UK, and Europe, as well as Singapore and Southeast Asia. Nonetheless, we are so proud that having many Canadian firms making the success in Hong Kong. So here's the list of examples of Canadian success. Many of them are SMEs. With our support and by working through local partners, they have successfully made their name proudly known here. So in partnership with Hong Kong Trade Development Council, the Canadian Council had organized a successful annual trade mission to Eco Expo Asia 2020. In the last a few years. So in 2020, this year, due to the current pandemic, so this trade show will go virtual and named under Autumn Sourcing Week online. So, and we are also supporting this event, and then we're considering taking part. So for those of you who want to attending, please send me a note. And here's our contact information. So do let me know if you need help, and we're here to help you. Thank you so much.
Okay. So thank you, Fatima, for that. And if there's any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and follow up on any questions that you might have there. We're now going to move over to the three speakers that we have on board with us today to talk about their experience with the corporate green agenda. And we'll also hear from them about opportunities and challenges they see in the green building sector, both in Hong Kong and in the region. To save time, what I've done is asked to have the bios and the information on their companies posted on the online on the webinar page, and so you can take a look at it in there. And I'm going to move straight into asking them to provide their presentations. So our first speaker is Dr. Raymond Yao from Swire Properties Limited, who a leading developer here in Hong Kong, both owner and operator of mixed use, principally commercial properties here in Hong Kong and across the region. Dr. Yao, over to you.
Thank you. Let me just share the screen. Good morning and good evening, friends from Canada and also those in Hong Kong. Let me just have a brief introduction of the company, aside from what Patricia had just highlighted. We are indeed a developer, owner, and operator of the investment portfolio, including office, retail, hotel, as well as residential luxury markets, with particular focus on mixed-use opportunity across the region, primarily in Hong Kong, Chinese mainland, and indeed recently, or more or less a year ago, starting to have our operation in Singapore and a project in Jakarta, Indonesia as well. A few years ago, we also have a mixed-use development located in USA in Miami City, in the downtown Brickell City. So over our 25.6 million square foot investment portfolio, over 50% is located in Hong Kong, and around 30% in Chinese mainland, and the rest spreading over in the region and in US. So we not only provide an investment portfolio, but also we manage hotel and restaurants. So for those who are having clean tech product for this type of application, we will be extremely interested. Let me just share with you some what we call the SD Sustainable Development Performances. Swire Properties is actually ranked 8th globally in the Dow Jones Sustainability World Index. And we have been in that position for at least 2 years. And before that, we are included in the Asia Pac Index, in the Dow Jones Sustainability Index. And we are currently staying top company in the Hong Kong Corporate Sustainability Index. And also we are global sector leader in the mixed-use development category since 2017. So these are, the rest are some of our performances, particularly in SD aspect. Well, these are considered to be drivers for change facing the real estate sector, both locally here and for the rest of the Greater China. We see business needed to consider for low carbon transition. And so we are respecting a lot of global climate action, taken on board what's the implication to the operation of our business, so including the UN SD goal, and we recently adopted the science-based target and so on and so forth. Being a corporate director of a Business Environment Council here in Hong Kong, the BEC has also rolled out the Low Carbon Charter, encouraging all kinds of corporates in Hong Kong to set their own targets and initiate strategies in combat to climate change. About 5 years ago, the company, Spy Properties, rekindled our SD strategy and come up with a brand new vision with these on the screen. And also to go with that, we reformed the whole company and having what we call the creative transformation within the corporate. And with that, we have 5 pillars to support all the business actions, driving the business performances. And this is also going to affect our annual budget planning, meaning what we are going to invest, how much CapEx and OpEx in the upcoming 5 or 10 years we need to spend and work on, so on, based upon the goals and objectives. We incorporate all this SD strategy in our corporate risk register, as I highlight, affecting our investment decisions, as well as making sure everybody within the corporate counts. So we incorporate employee performance goal setting in the annual staff appraisal as well. That's helped to pull the whole company going forward, respecting the SD as a tremendous goal for each of every one of the company. Slightly more than a year ago, in November 2019, our science-based target was approved by the Science-Based Target Initiative. Since then, we set out, and we have now a very aggressive Scope 1 and 2 carbon emission reduction target by the year 2025 and also 2030, along with the Paris Agreement expectation. We also set upon the Scope 3, those carbon emission not directly related or directly controlled by the company, but in fact, those are the emission emitted by either our downstream lease assets or capital goods. In other words, our tenants in the retail or offices, we want to engage them along the process of energy reduction, decarbonization as well. And also it have an impact on the new developments we're going to put in, both in Hong Kong and mainland China, in terms of embodied carbons. So these are quite aggressive targets, and these are the public target that we are committed to. As a result of that, we have to align with whole loads of new strategy to meet that. So this shows us one of the approach we use is to look for green financing opportunity. So we've set up a high-level committee steering the whole SD strategy within the corporate in an attempt to achieve the tall order targets. Over the past couple of years, we begin to roll out a series of green bonds or sustainability-linked loan I couldn't count exact numbers, but you can see the numbers. In the first year, 2018, $500 million green bond, and all of it have been subscribed on our new projects that's either just been completed or in the pipeline. And also recently, in the early half of this year, we launched 2 more green bonds, totally 800 million Hong Kong dollars. And also we negotiate with our bankers to come for some interest rates reduction in form of sustainability-linked loan. So as a result, last year, we have 500 million Hong Kong dollars, the first of such kinds of linked loan, to launch a financing mechanism that ties with our year-on-year SD performance improvement targets. And also we also launched 2 more SLL, totally 2 billion Hong Kong dollars early part of this year. So all these green finance opportunity are there to help us to do more green projects, to respond to the climate change adaptation mitigation, to retrofit our stocks, improving the energy efficiency, and attempt to take on board more RE opportunity, renewable energy, despite they are more costly to do, and also look at other sustainability essential elements such as water and waste, water management side. So let's look at some of the mitigation measures that either been in place or implemented or in the pipeline this is just a simple summary. In terms of for real estate sector, like smart properties, we are seriously adopting this kinds of decarbonization strategy. I do think there's plenty of opportunity for clean tech or renewable energy suppliers and contractors offering some of your advanced solutions in helping us to achieve our objectives. Just like equipment or operation upgrading, chillers, boilers replacement of low efficiency equipments, for example, adoption of variable speed drive and new equipment technology using the direct current motor to power the EC plug fan, helping to reduce the ventilation fan consumption and so on. All of these are there to help us to reduce, to look for newer products to replace the probably outdated or obsolete products that's been in operation for quite some time already. As I can see, we have been operating in Hong Kong since 1972, in excess of 40 years. And so our initial properties has been around for at least about 30 years. It's about time to replace some of the major equipments with new technologies. So we're looking for products to enable us to do that. We also take very seriously about refining the operation of systems. So for example, having the opportunity to incorporate some unique professional services in terms of retro commissioning or monitoring-based commissioning of our systems currently in operation. No doubt that would help us to drive a lot of energy efficiency opportunities too. So also in the digital or smart technology aspect, we are currently implementing smart meters, IoT sensors for big data analysis collections, utilizing the cloud computings, using exploring with university for artificial intelligence and machine learnings to do predictive maintenance and so on. So renewable energy, on and off site renewable energy, PV panel, waste to water, waste to energy trigeneration, all are seriously taken on board in helping us to achieve our goals. So just a simple example. We're currently developing our smart energy management platform, utilizing all this modern smart technology to enable us to do high-level or tall-order decarbonization, energy reduction, smart operation, and so on and so forth. So all these portfolios across in Chinese mainland, Hong Kong, and so on, including US, are being established and installed with such a cloud-based management systems to enable us to interrogate the data and enable operation efficiency improvement. Investment in RE, we haven't done a lot, but helping us to decarbonize the grid and also the energy demand and supply, we certainly need to look into this aspect closely. So on other aspect is, you can see that this is generally our split of energy use in typical office in Hong Kong, super high-rise, sustainable buildings, as well as a retail mall. So a lot are spent in the tenant areas. So we need to come up with strategy how we can engage with tenants to reduce the energy consumption. So some kinds of services like highlighted here are being implemented. So on the construction materials, as part of an SBT strategy, scope 3 on capital goods for all new developments in the pipeline, we certainly want to reduce the embodied carbon emission. So we are seriously about choosing the choice of the materials, both for the final built products, as well as activities taking place in the construction sites. So we look into cradle to gate, embodied carbon consideration, and we consider we need to choose to use low embodied carbon materials to enable us to reduce it substantially in order to help us to really reach the target we set about. So I think that's mainly what I like to share with you. And to going forward, we as a corporate seriously reviewing our decarbonization strategy, 1.5 degree scenario, super low E energy. No doubt we need to take on board other resources uses like the materials, and also how to contain the waste, looking into circular economy concept, how to raise the bar in terms of this area. So hopefully, not too distant future away, we like to achieve the net zero carbon building that we built in our investment portfolios. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Yao. That was really interesting. And for someone who's been in Hong Kong for about a year, really interesting to see what steps that Swire is taking moving forward on their climate change issues. Next up, we have Professor Steve Wong from Billion Group Technology, which is a service provider with experience notably across energy, environment, waste management, and transportation infrastructure. Over to you, Steve.
Thank you, Patricia. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for inviting me for sharing my humble experience in the past few decades in green opportunities in Hong Kong and China. Here's a short sharing of our company. We started in 1991. In the last 3 decades of operation, we evolved from building service consultant in the energy, environmental, waste, and also transport consultant in the last 30 years. And we operate in two regions, in Hong Kong and our office in Germany. And then we have several companies. And then primarily Billion Group, based in Hong Kong, UNI based in Germany, BUI looking after the private equity fund, and also BGT looking for design, build, and operation of our green projects. And recently, apart from being listed in Hong Kong government as a EACSB environmental and energy consultant, we also recently listed in Hengqin GBA China as being an approved consultant for providing environmental services. Here are some job references and client references. I will go through quite in a fast speed. Why there are increasing green opportunities in Hong Kong and China? Someone may know, someone may not know. In 2018, March, the National Constitution has included environmental rights into the fundamental citizen rights of China. And then starting from that, every Chinese citizen can claim for environmental right in their living. This is why I think we are enjoying a very green environment in China. I think in the time coming. Here is the roadmap of China. On the right-hand side, you can see the international development, the One Belt One Road. Today, we are not talking about One Belt One Road. One Belt One Road was initiated in 2018. But before that, I think back to 1950, the United Nations has already proposed the Trans-Asia Network. I think actually the One Belt One Road is developed based on this concept, from back to 1950. And then the left-hand side is the regional development for Greater Bay Area. And then you can have a snapshot on how to see the turnover of the existing GDP of various cities of the GBA. GBA is a China Greater Bay Area consisting of 9 inner cities of China, and also Hong Kong and Macau. And then you just go through the map, you understand that the current GDP of these cities. When we're talking about the green projects opportunity of China, we can come into 3 perspectives: national development and regional development, GBA, and also Hong Kong developments. For national development, we're currently still in the 13-year, 5-year plan. And then starting from January next year, we're coming into the 4th 5-year plans. And then maybe I think you all know that China has been developing quite well in the last 40 years' time. And then based on provincial level. But I think in the coming time, there will be a little bit switch on strategy of the regional national development based on, apart from provincial development, they will primarily focus on river. Because I think that personally, our team revealed that I think the future economic and geographical development will be based on rivers of China, because water is a very important resource of China in the time coming. And for regional development, GBA, it's a snapshot of the 9 cities plus 2 Hong Kong and Macau. And in the coming 15 years' time, is a very important development period for our GBA, because according to the blueprint of China, this GBA will become leading GBA around the world in terms of several areas, technologies, and also the turnover. In the 15 years' time, I think there will be a vibrant development, particularly, I think, in the environmental sectors of green projects being developed in this GBA area. Back to Hong Kong, as you know, Hong Kong has been successful in developing as a global financial hub. Coming with the green opportunities, Hong Kong government has already, already set up the green finance, supporting this development in Hong Kong back to 2 years ago. In a summary, I think the 13 years plan will come to an end by the end of this year. And then you can see the major objectives of the 13 5-year plan: medium high rate growth, achieve significant result. And then out of that, I think please pay attention to overall improvement in the quality of the environment and ecosystems. That if you come to China quite frequently, particularly for NOAA, you're based in Beijing, I'm sure that you can observe that there has been a lot of improvement in the quality of environment and ecosystem, particularly, I think, the rivers. And maybe I want to highlight some key elements that in the 13 years plan that China has developed. The first of all is the wastewater treatment system. As you know, before the 13 5-year plan, over 50% of the wastewater, global wastewater, are located in China due to the 4 decades of industrial development. Over 50% of the wastewater are located in China. This is why in the 13 5-year plan, China has done a lot of efforts and resources into wastewater treatment. I think they has come up with a very positive result, but still, they are still having a lot of wastewater in China. Therefore, I think in the coming years, we still have a lot of opportunities, to work on the wastewater treatment in China. As I said before, water is one of the scarcest resources in China. Without water, they cannot proceed with the further development. Therefore, please pay attention to wastewater treatment opportunities. And secondly, for circular economy, I think it's the recycle and reuse of the waste material. Nowadays, we're talking about a circular economy. In some countries, we have the opportunity to provide our consultancy. For example, for Singapore, our team has recently engaged by the government to help them to develop the circular economy. In China, the circular economy, I think, is really coming. And then I can feel the momentum and also the demand for that in various cities. In my recent discussion with one of the cities like Qingdao, they are really looking for opportunities there for circular economy, for implementing in the city, things like that. And apart from wastewater and resources, waste treatment, particularly I think the MSW, municipal solid waste, is a big issue. Although we know that China has a lot of waste to energy plant there, but still I think the standard or the quality of technology, I think is up to improvement. I think the demand for improvement, particularly the emission, dioxin, all the pollution has yet to be has a room for improvement. Therefore, I think in view of the waste to energy technology, there still exists a lot of great opportunities. We finished our exhibition in Shanghai last Thursday to Saturday for the IE Expo in Shanghai. During the 3 days exhibition, we received over higher double digits inquiry about how to improve the MSW wastewater treatment in their projects. Therefore, please focus on these 2 areas. Regarding the green service provider, green finance system, particularly in this year, I could feel that the green finance system, the demand for that in China is really very hot. Why? Because according to the publish of the government information, every single year, 3 trillion renminbi will be invested in green projects development or improvement of the existing facility. And out of this 3 trillion, only 15% will be coming out from government. And where the remaining 85% coming from is from green finance system. Therefore, I think in this year, I could see a lot of green fund system being evolved in China. Therefore, if you are interested in green fund finance system, I think please take a look and have an eye on that. The China 5 years plan is coming in 2021 to 2025. On top of the success of the 13 5-year plan, I could predict that I think in the coming 5 years' time, more effort will be focused on several areas. Like green financing, I just mentioned about it, and energy consumption. That means the improvement or the upgrade of the existing buildings. And I just read some information that in the building that developed before 1980, Chinese for the conventional citizen, they have the idea to knock down all this building and to rebuild all this building again in 14 5-year plan. Then you could envisage that there are a lot of new buildings to be developed in the coming 5 years. Therefore, all these buildings, for sure, I think they will comply with the latest energy and environmental standard. There exists a lot of new technology, no matter energy, air conditioning, electrical, lift, escalator, thermal, wastewater, things like that. And then they will also focus in carbon intensity, carbon emission cap. And then for this area, I think for those service providers specialized in carbon intensity, please come along with us. And for steady renewable energy resources, as mentioned by Dr. Yao earlier, I think more and more focus will be with the use of waste to energy, and also wastewater to energy as well. I'll mention a little bit about the wastewater to energy later on. For wind and solar expansion, definitely, I think China will continue to be the #1, producer of renewable energy in the 14 5-year plan. Okay, you just described about the national development. Then go back to GBA. We focus on GBA, the 9 inner city, and Macau and Hong Kong. As I said before, I think the most important thing to take away for GBA is that this will be the test bed for China to be for the ecological civilization. Because in the past 4 decades, China has been successful in industrialization, but at the same time, they are suffering a lot due to the pollution. And then I think so many people got sick due to cancer or things like that. Therefore, this GBA will be a test bed for ecological civilization. In the coming 15 years' time, a lot of green initiative, policy, things like that will be there. Therefore, we could envisage a lot of projects, wastewater treatment, and then MSW treatment, organic waste treatment, and also the building, as mentioned earlier, that the latest technology will be adopted in the building development in the GBA. Most importantly, I think for GBA to pursue green development and ecological conservation. For the rest of the points, I hope that the audience, if you're interested, to go through the PowerPoint point by point on your own. If you have questions, you can share with me later on. But I don't spend too much time here. For the Greater Bay Area, I think as I mentioned earlier, please focus on management of waste resources, the land-based pollution discharge, the clean production technologies like water, waste, energy efficiency. For your sharing on energy efficiency, in the last 2 decades, while I was helping the industrial sector in China and also in Asia, you guess how many percentage of energy can be reduced after my energy audit and process improvement. 50%. 50% energy in the industrial process on average can be reduced. And you can see there's a lot of room for improvement in a lot of processes. And recently, we are also engaged by government, Hong Kong government, to help on the drainage service department to improve, the process optimization of all the wastewater treatment in Hong Kong for over 80% capacity. We are engaged to help them to improve the process optimization. And then you could understand that I think all these processes are very important in achieving energy efficiency and energy reduction. Recycling. as mentioned earlier, after we pursue, under the norm for pursuing, circular economy, recycling is a very important, initiative. Circular linkage, low carbon chartering, particularly for low carbon chartering. After the COVID-19, many people, for myself, we are stuck in Hong Kong. We cannot go anywhere. And then chartering, low carbon chartering, how to leverage on low carbon chartering, I think is a good opportunity for all business people in the tourism industry. Okay, for Hong Kong has been a very successful finance center after New York and London, and then we primarily, I think we will continue to be a finance center. But I think one more thing is the green finance in Hong Kong, along with the green opportunities in GBA and China. Hong Kong will be evolving into a green finance center. Apart from Hong Kong government itself for the setting up the green fund, I'm sure that there will be a lot of green private equity fund, green bond to be set up in Hong Kong to finance these projects. Our team also recently setting up our PEF targeting for green projects in Hong Kong, China, and also in the ASEAN countries region. And currently we are having partnership in several ASEAN countries, including Japan, Thailand, and also Malaysia, things like that. And we see that there, from Hong Kong, based in Hong Kong, I think we can looking after not only Hong Kong, but also regions around in Hong Kong. Therefore, I'm sure that the Green Finance Center will help us a lot, in channeling this project, in realizing this project, not only on technology, not only on design services, but also in capital investment as well. For Hong Kong government, they have set up, a $1 billion bond already in May 2019. But I'm sure that I think this is only the first one. I think more will be coming on. And also the Green Bond Grant Scheme, and also the Green Finance Certificate Scheme, Green Fund. For details, I think if you're interested, please come over to me by email or whatever. I'll share with you in more details. Regarding the green projects opportunities, primarily, I think I want to divide. I want to focus in 5 different areas: renewable energy, wastewater treatment, waste management, green supply chain, and also the green equity fund. For renewable energy, I'm sure that most of you understand solar, wind, and hydropower. But one thing bear in mind that for hydropower, due to the climate changes, I think the water supply will be undergoing some change. The river will be undergoing some changes as well due to the melting of the iceberg, things like that. Therefore, the geographical changes to the water distribution is a very key issue that will change the hydropower generation also. For solar and wind, maybe I skip this one. For Hong Kong, we are not running the feed-in tariff scheme. The Hong Kong government will sponsor, will sponsor at a very high electricity rate, for offering solar energy to the power grid. For this one, I think I want to highlight about that. For BAPV and BIPV, building attached photovoltaic and building integrated photovoltaic. For solar panel, I think the application has been large already, but no matter how large it is, there is a limitation for solar panel. Why? Because it's limited by the area of the city or the country. It can accommodate solar panel on the horizontal situation. But on BIPV, it's building integrated photovoltaic. The solar panel is integrated into the building facade, no matter curtain wall or tiles, things like that. That means that for the area of application, it is unlimited. For a building, so for example, the taller the building, the more area that you can apply BIPV. In that sense, the area or application potential is unlimited for BIPV. For BIPV, I think there are 2 advantages. The first, therefore, for converting the solar energy into electricity, then I think you can use the renewable energy. But on the same time, since the solar energy originally coming into the building through the building facade. But this external solar energy is absorbed by the solar panel. Therefore, the net solar energy or thermal energy coming into the building will be drastically reduced. Therefore, the original air conditioning system, say for example, 100 ton or 500 ton, drastically, the capacity could be reduced for over 50% or even 60%, according to my experience. In one of my projects in Shanghai, we could reduce 75% air conditioning consumption after improving the facade thermal capacity of the facade. Therefore, for BIPV, if you can successfully develop the building integrated photovoltaic system and incorporate it into the high-rise building for Asia region like Hong Kong, Tokyo, Singapore, and all these cities, we can drastically reduce a lot of energy consumption due to air conditioning because all this thermal heat intake will be absorbed by the solar PV into electricity. Therefore, BIPV, I think, is the norm for tomorrow. These are some, projects in the past years, and this one, the glass curtain application. This one is actually in Berlin, the central station in Berlin. Okay, the first is solar renewable energy. The second opportunity is on wastewater treatment. We're talking about circular economy wastewater treatment. When wastewater, is generated in the industrial plant, normally we go for wastewater treatment, and then after wastewater treatment, normally we will generate, clean water and be circulated to the origin for usage, depending on the treatment they're using, preliminary, primary, secondary, tertiary, or even cultural treatment, water treatment. And then the sludge after water treatment, we will generate sludge. But after using some latest technology, the sludge could be converted into biocharcoal, and also the phosphor will be recovered and go back to the fertilizer. I think this process will be, I think, in the coming decade, will be a lot of tremendous opportunities here. In our company, I think our team has evolved some technology that will be very useful in treating the wastewater. Say for example, in some projects in US and France and also in China, and then we could achieve the energy saving for over 50% energy saving for treating the same amount of wastewater, and then we can reduce over 50% energy consumption and emission. And particularly for Hong Kong, we can achieve less 50% footprint used, and also for operation costs, O&M costs, less 70%, and for sludge generation, less than 50%. I think all these are by latest technology from all around the world bundled together. I'm sure that Canadian enterprise could also have a lot of good technologies. We really hope that your good technology can come and integrate with existing technology and bring a renowned solution and an innovative solution to the water problem in China. I don't spend too much time on the technology. I think maybe if you're interested, I think you can go through the details later on. Apart from wastewater treatment, but for the sludge, sludge dewatering is very important. If you have good, super or ultra dewatering technology for sludge, I think the demand is tremendous. Only in the last 3 days exhibition in Shanghai, we've invited, we are invited for cooperation for dewatering for sludge. I think more than 3 to 4 companies. These are some of the existing technology that we are using in different regions, including Europe, Germany, and also in some region in Asia. And then in the past few years, I think some job references for your reference. Okay, apart from wastewater treatment, one of the concerns, this is another project in Vietnam. Our client, has confidential, the client, I say that, they have developed a steel factory in Vietnam. But unfortunately, due to a case of, in algal bloom, And this company, has got a punishment by the government for 4 billion Hong Kong dollar in one single shot. And then after that, they are worrying about will this punishment continue if the water treatment, if the technology could not be improved. Okay. Okay. Waste hierarchy. I think in the time coming, waste to energy, as I said before, is a very hot topic. But pay attention to the smart waste management system. That exists a lot of opportunities there. And then this is some of our project reference in Hong Kong, the IWMF in Hong Kong, and also in Hamburg, the outstanding waste IWMF in Hamburg. Okay, green supply chain. Green supply chain, I think, is evolving to be a very hot topic now. Why? Apart from lean manufacturing, in the time coming, because of the COVID-19, we understand that after COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of the supply chain will be totally stopped. The green supply chain management, I think, is a new area that we need to focus on. And this is a green short introduction of the green equity fund that we are developing. We work on several areas: large-scale solar, waste energy, wastewater treatment, and building modernization. As shared by Dr. Yao earlier, I think the demand for building modernization is a top demand. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve. Your presentation, I just point out to everybody, we weren't able to screen through it, but please, it is available on the webinar, and if you have any questions, you can connect in with Steve on those. I want to hand the speaking opportunity now over to Chawan, and he is here in the office with us. He's also my neighbor here in the office, and he is the Chief Representative for Export Development Canada. And he'll talk to you about EDC's working capital, financing, risk mitigation solutions when you're looking at pursuing opportunities in the market here. So I'll hand it over.
Thank you very much, Patricia. As I wait for my slide to load, maybe I'll just take this opportunity to outline my presentation today. So I have about 15 minutes, so not a whole lot of time. So I'm going to basically provide you with an overview of EDC, what we do, who we are and what we do, and also introduce our solutions, how you can potentially use our solutions as you pursue the opportunities in the market.
Which one?
I thought it's loaded.
It was, but this is not on. This is. I had it open.
So as we look for the presentation on the desktop, don't worry, I can start with the introductions of EDC. So EDC is the official export credit agency of the federal government of Canada. We are owned by, we only have one shareholder, and that is the federal government of Canada. By virtue of the Canadian government's ownership, we enjoy a very solid AAA rating. We don't rely on the government for our annual appropriation. Oh, here it is. My deck is on the screen now. It's not moving. Oh, okay, there it is. So we enjoy a solid AAA credit rating by virtue of the Canadian government's ownerships, and we leverage this credit rating to the full benefit by issuing our own bonds in the market, and by doing so, we have access to very low cost of funds, and all this translates to Canadian companies that use our services because it means lower interest rates if you are borrowing from EDCs or you're enjoying very low premiums in terms of the insurance products that you use at EDC. Notwithstanding that we are owned by the Canadian government, we operate on commercial principle. And by that, I mean that everything that we do must be commercially viable, creditworthy, and it must demonstrate the benefit to Canada. We don't provide grants or subsidies. We don't provide soft loans. Everything that we do has to be based on market pricing or commercial market benchmarking. Basically, we offer working capital and risk mitigation solutions to help Canadian companies expand their business abroad or invest abroad. We also provide financing to major foreign companies that procure products and services from Canada. So our mandate is to support and develop directly, indirectly Canada's export trade as well as Canadian investment abroad. So this drives everything that we do in EDC. Everything must demonstrate benefit to Canada. I'm just waiting for the page to turn. Okay, so we conduct our business in a socially responsible manner. So things like environment, social responsibility, and governance is very core to EDC's DNA. Both in terms of our operating principles, as well as a sector which we want to promote very strongly. For example, this session, which talks about clean tech and sustainable energy. We have been doing business in China a long time. We have been here since 1979. In fact, we are the first foreign export credit agencies foreign export credit agencies that established business ties in Greater China. Our first representation was opened in Beijing in 1997, followed by Shanghai, which will be opened in our first one was 2006. And last year, we opened our newest representation in Greater China in Hong Kong, which I currently reside. Greater China is a strategic priority for both the Government of Canada and EDC. This is actually one of our top portfolio in terms of geography. And so what makes China so interesting? What makes China so unique? You know, the phenomenal growth story of China, the huge population base, you know, the high growth rates of China, those are all well publicized. You can find all this information on the internet, so I won't go over it. But I do want to take this opportunity just to highlight a couple of phenomena that's very unique to China that has made this such an exciting market. Number one, it currently has one of the biggest middle income class in the world by any economy. Back in 1980, when China was just starting to open up, only 19% of its population lives in the urban area. And today, there are close to 60%, or over 800 million of its people lives in urban area. So with people moving to the middle income class, and also this tremendous growth of the urban population, that brings about two very interesting development in China. Number one, the people are now demanding more for what they spend, so they want bigger bangs for the bucks. People are no longer living from paycheck to paycheck. People actually have excess income that they can spend on quality stuff. So they are demanding quality products. They are looking for cleaner air. They are looking for greener space. So these are all very important now to, you know, the daily life of an average Chinese person. And relating to the tremendous urbanization of China, it has placed enormous pressure on the infrastructure of China, on the city of China. There's a lot of pressure on the resources, you know, in terms of the water and the energy consumption. Air pollution is also a big issue. So solutions that address all these issues are very highly sought after by China's city planner. So if you are in the clean tech business, this is definitely the market for you. Now, so where is Hong Kong then in all this? So Hong Kong is an excellent gateway. It is just right next to mainland China, as you know. It's not easy to figure that out. Hong Kong has several attributes that makes it a very, very interesting proposition. It is one of the most open economy in the world, notwithstanding what's happening in the geopolitical scene now. Sorry, my slide is just not loading. I'm just waiting for it to load. Oh. So next slide, please. It has a very well-developed financial market. It has very low tax regime, probably one of the lowest in the world, and it's world-class infrastructure. Hong Kong is also one of the biggest green bond financing market in the world now. And it also has a fairly robust rule of law. I put rule of law at the very last item because this is now being debated. But as far as we can see now, pretty much I think still business as usual. Of course, we are starting to see some interruptions because of various measures introduced by certain economy. But we'll have to see what will unveil before us over the next couple of months. But I am an optimist. I still have a lot of faith, and I believe the rule of law in Hong Kong will prevail, at least for the commercial world. Now, just going across the border from Hong Kong. Next slide, please. You have this area the upcoming area that's very equally exciting, called the Greater Bay Area. I think one of the speakers before me also referred briefly to Greater Bay Area, GBA. So the Greater Bay Area is only 1% of China's total area, but it contributes as much as 12% of the country's GDP. Okay, about 1.7 trillion, and that is about the size of Canada's economy, twice the size of Canada's population. This is a very ambitious project of Beijing to connect 9 Chinese cities with the special administrative area of Macau and Hong Kong. Part of the plan includes a lot of infrastructure built, first-class infrastructure built, and then also emphasis on development of high-tech hub and a lot of R&D center. Now, the GBA development blueprint is centered around innovation that also preserves its ecology. So green tech, preservation of the environment, protection of the environment, waste management, energy conservation, green building design, all these are going to be, again, very, very key to the Greater Bay Area Development Plan. Next slide, please. I'm going to skim through the next couple of slides because I want to focus on EDC's solutions. But the next couple of slides just basically, I want to emphasize that as you come into Hong Kong and China, don't focus on the tier 1 cities like Shanghai or Beijing or Shenzhen. Because the tier 2 and tier 3 cities are equally exciting. You know, cities like Chongqing, Tianjin, Hangzhou, they are by far, not small by any standard, even though they are called tier 2 or tier 3 economies. Next slide. And the environment, back to the environmental issues in China. So environmental issues in China are well publicized. Decades of high growth has unfortunately brought about a lot of negative implications for the environment. 1/5 of China's arable land are polluted. China discharges a lot of plastic waste into the ocean. And then if you are here during winter, if you go to the northern region like Shanghai or Shenyang or Tianjin, the air is choked with smog. So, these are real issues that the Chinese population have to live, every day. And China is not it realizes the issues, all these issues, and this cannot be sustained over the next into the next decade. So the central government has introduced a series of policies to address all these issues. So over the next couple of slides, I have outlined them. I won't talk about them because I want to focus on EDC's solutions and programs. So please, if you want to keep flipping the slides, please. Next one. Next, please. Keep going. Yes, thank you. So if you want to go one back. Previous slide, previous slide.
Yeah, not forward, back.
Previous slide. Previous slide. Okay, so this is the slide that I want to focus on. This is how we help you as you pursue the opportunities in the market. I put them into two buckets: financing, insurance on the left, insurance and guarantees on the right. Financing is a solutions that's mainly that we offer to foreign companies as they procure products and services from Canada. We can provide financing to Canadian companies as well, but usually we like to do this in partnership with Canadian banks. We don't like to do that directly with Canadian companies because we don't want to eat the bank's lunches. It is partnering with the Canadian banks simply is the better way to go. So on the right-hand side, you will see there are three main services that I'm going to introduce today: account receivable insurance, bonding, and international financing guarantees. Next slide. So the first solution that I'm going to talk about is our flagship product, account receivables insurance. So this is a risk mitigation solution. As you pursue opportunities in the market, sometimes you have to compete, or sometimes you are being demanded by your customers to offer credit terms. So you may have to provide your service today, but you will only be able to collect on your receivables 60 days, 90 days down the road. Or sometimes you have to incur upfront costs, maybe designing, preparing for your projects, and these are all sunk costs. But then, before you get to execute or deliver your projects, the project owner may run into financial difficulties, or they may just renege on the contract, right? So these are all risks that Canadian companies have to face when they pursue projects outside Canada. So this solution, it helps you to mitigate risks like this. In another way of looking at this is we are lending you our balance sheet. We are lending you EDC's AAA balance sheet by taking all the risks of not being able to collect your receivables and transfer all that risk to EDC's balance sheet. Our account receivable insurance will protect you against a variety of commercial credit risks, credit and political risks, such as your buyer going into bankruptcy, they renege on the contract, or maybe there are introductions of a series of government policies that prevents you from executing your projects, or preventing you from converting, say, a renminbi, if you are paid in renminbi, into a hard currency and repatriating that profit of yours back to Canada. So the account receivable insurance policy offers protection up to 90% of the losses in the event that you are unable to recover your receivables. We do not cover commercial disputes. The account receivables insurance policy also, apart from allowing you to offer attractive terms to your buyers and compete with other service providers from other countries, it also allows you to access financing at Canadian banks. Some of you would already have this facility in place with Canadian commercial banks. Canadian banks would typically finance your receivables, a process that we call margining. They would potentially finance up to 90% of receivables, provided that they are covered by insurance, credit insurance. And so one of the very sought after coverage that the commercial banks look for is coverage provided by a strong credit insurance service provider such as EDC. So this is all that I want to comment on regarding our risk mitigation solutions. We can offer coverage on a portfolio basis, or on a single customer basis, or as and when you have a contract and then there are selected coverage that you want to take up, these can be custom made according to your needs. The second solution that I want to talk about is the export guarantee program. This is basically a program that helps to previous slide, please don't advance my slide yet. Oh, sorry. I was looking at this is the correct slide. So basically, this is a credit enhancement solutions where we help Canadian banks to do business in a foreign jurisdictions more comfortably. It allows your bank to underwrite risk that they wouldn't otherwise be comfortable taking. So basically, what happens is, when after you landed a contract, say in Hong Kong or in Shenzhen, and you need to move some of your equipment in order to do testing or to construct a piece of assets that would eventually allow you to execute. All these involves working capital. Canadian banks may not be prepared to finance these assets as they are being moved across the border. So in order to make the bank feel more comfortable, in order to enhance their appetite to underwrite the credit, we provide this guarantee that helps to take the big piece of the risk out of their credit underwriting. Traditionally, our guarantee could be anywhere between 75% up to 90%. Next slide, please. These are the few scenarios where you could use our export guarantee program. I talked about financing your working capital needs. You can also use it to finance your SRED credit. So for Canadian companies in cleantech area that spends a lot of resources doing research and development, rather than waiting for the SRED credits, you can actually offer your SRED to the banks as a means of raising financing and to again encourage the bank to finance your SRED credit. We provide a guarantee over the credit that you are seeking. Next slide, please. So the next slide that the next solution that I'm going to talk about is bonding services. This solution is quite essential for companies that needs to bid on the projects. So typically, project owners will require bid bonds if it is an open tender, and then if you are successful in landing the project, the bid bonds could be converted into a performance bond. And once the project is done, it could be converted into a warranty bond. Now, these bonds has to be supported by cash because typically bonds are callable by are payable on demand, meaning that the beneficiary of the bond does not need to provide any reasons for calling on your bond. So banks will typically require cash to be provided in order to issue the bonds for you. So not many Canadian companies can afford to put up cash because this is going to tie up your working capital. So what we do here is by providing the bank with 100% EDC's guarantee, they would free up your cash or untie your working capital. In the interest of time, I think I am just going to leave it here. If you want to advance another slide, this is our coordinates. If you have any questions, I will be happy to speak to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chawan. It's even though I've heard Chawan speak a number of times, and I think I know what EDC does. Every time I learn something new, and always fascinating to hear how they can help Canadian companies and the services that they provide. So I think we're going to move over to a Q&A at the moment, and I'm going to pull up some of the ones that have been posted online, but I thought I'd start in the beginning by just reaching out to Raymond and Steve, and just, we're hearing about the global economic recovery and the impact of COVID globally. It's here in Asia, but it's around the world, and it's impacting companies from many different angles. And one of the options that we always see from government when they go through these type of crises is what is the recovery mode? And one of the options or one of the solutions is generally an increase in investment, public spending, infrastructure. And I was wondering, both Raymond and Steve, if you could speak to, do you see this investment, this type of strategy also on a corporate level? And maybe I'll ask Raymond to speak first, and then Steve. And I'd also like Chawan too, to sort of, because I know his clients are reaching out to him, if that's something that you're seeing also. So I'll hand it over to Raymond first.
Thank you. Certainly, COVID-19 is having a tremendous impact to Hong Kong or Chinese mainland as a whole. And in terms of business to the corporate, to our company, it's certainly bearing a great impact. Our retail sales dropped substantially. Offices are okay. And therefore, it hurt basically our P&L. But we didn't just stop here. We continue to invest on our opportunity into the future. So, but at the same time, we need to make our asset more resilient. So during this period of time, we particularly focus on improving the health and safety of our asset across, placing a lot of focuses on disinfection of the assets, making the places are clean and healthy for people to continue to stay, work and play and so on. So the recovery in our portfolios in China are tremendous in the past few months. We seeing a rising surge of people going out, both in all our portfolios across and helping to boost up the sales and opportunity too. Hong Kong is still severely affected. And so, but we continue to invest on various opportunities and we are not stopping to decarbonize our assets. So in terms of opportunity, particularly at this juncture, we're looking for clean and green tech enable us to make our asset more resilient and safe to reside and work. So we're seeing a lot of overseas high-tech product approaching us, and we are looking for proven sort of products. A lot of those are actually from Europe or North America's with proven sort of history of operation. So we seriously taken on board of those sort of new opportunities of tools to incorporate it into our asset to make it more resilient as a whole. Maybe I stop here.
Okay. Thank you, Patricia, for the question. After the onset of the COVID-19, I've observed three things. The first is that a lot of developers, even government, they are, apart from green advocate on the green development, they are very concerned about health and safety. I recently had a discussion with one of the major developers, a major investor from Canada. You know, they invest a lot of money in different regions. They asked me, they are now very concerned about, you know, the health and safety to be implemented in all the upcoming investment on top of green development, but also health and safety. How do I ensure that, you know, the tenants, you know, working inside my properties, they feel safe and also and all these sorts of, you know, environment. In that sense, I think apart from green development, energy efficiency, things like that, health and safety is a primary issue. Number one. Number two is that, you know, after the onset of the COVID-19, it stopped the supply chain. A lot of manufacturing sector could not proceed because they don't have the raw material. And then, because nowadays, after utilizing the global supply chain, after the hit of the COVID-19, all the manufacturing has stopped. Therefore, coming now, a lot of manufacturers discuss with our team member regarding the supply chain and logistics. How could we still continue the manufacturing in the mid of the COVID-19? I think COVID-19 is not the first. It's the first so serious in history, but will not be the last one. Definitely, I think all the manufacturing sector has to cope for the future. When the second or the third COVID-19 coming, how could we still continue the manufacturing? And number three is about the green financing, because in the past decades, I think most of the investment focus on phase 2 and phase 3, you know, investment. Very few percentage, you know, will be spent in the phase 1 innovative phasing. But I think in the near future, I think more and more investment will be trying to develop more high-tech technology. In such a sense, a bit higher percentage will be more invested in the phase 1 investment. That will, you know, energize or stimulate more new technology, good technology to be evolved for the market demand. Yeah, that's my three things I want to share.
Thank you, Steve. That was really helpful. And Chawan, I'd also like to hear your input on that, because like I said, you have existing clients in this market, but you also have prospective clients reaching out to you. And what are you hearing in terms of their plans moving forward?
Okay, so of course everybody knows China is the one that gets hit the first. It's the first to get hit, and the disruption to the supply chain has a rippling effect throughout the world. We are also very glad to see that China is the first one to get out. We are starting to see, you know, a gradual but fragile recovery. So initially it was a disruption to the supply chain, but we see that on the supply side, I would say in certain provinces, it's almost 95% back to capacity now. The most impacted area like Wuhan is already recovering very well. You can see, there was an event in the paper that was well publicized yesterday that there was a massive pool party that they organized, and people are not wearing masks anymore. So we are very glad to see the recovery on that aspect. Now, on the demand side, we are also seeing some recovery as well, but this is the most uncertain part, because you still have to rely on the rest of the world to get back on its feet. What we are seeing now, our clients that are coming to us is they are more aware of the risk in the market now. Previously, where they would go into a market equipped with working capital solutions and then feeling at ease taking the risk on their own. Now they know they have to equip themselves with risk mitigation measures. And then they are more careful with the payment terms that they're negotiating. They are now insisting sometimes on not open account terms, but LCs. And then sometimes insisting that LCs has to be issued by international banks, or they choose to negotiate the contracts outside China, for example, a jurisdiction such as Hong Kong, which operates on common law, which again, I want to refer to the rule of law here. Maybe I'll just leave it to such.
Well, actually, Chawan, there's the question from one of our participants that's posted online that is asking, if we export high-tech solutions to export customers like Brazil or Asia Pacific, what is the typical transaction size for it to assist in financing customer orders?
So this is in terms of the support for the Canadian companies, there's no minimum size. We can, 80% of our clients are SMEs, so we can underwrite very, very small ticket size. But in terms of financing to the foreign buyers, if we are providing cross-border financing, then the cost of setting that up is very, very high. So typically, we wouldn't provide foreign buyer financing if the amount falls below, say, $20 million US. So that's for foreign companies. For Canadian companies, we would underwrite any ticket size.
Okay, thank you. And I think I realize we're drawing to an end here. I would just perhaps ask Raymond and Steve, what would be, say, your top two things in terms of advice for Canadian companies that want to be successful in Hong Kong? If they're looking at coming into the Hong Kong, what would you say are the top two things that they should be looking at? Perhaps Raymond, you want to jump in here?
Well, I think we're looking for a particular overseas product. We have a proven track record with certain degree of innovation behind it in order to be competitive in our marketplace, both in Hong Kong and Chinese mainland. And as long as that remains to be so, then say, for example, most real estate companies, including ourselves, will be welcoming those sort of technology to be installed. And so because we ourselves are responding to a lot of global important trends, we need to really make our asset more resilient. So therefore, we won't just stop looking for cheap product with a low ROI, but we will continue to source those proven innovative products that can enhance our operational efficiency. So certainly there might be some import tax issue if it's going to be used in China, then the usual investment consideration we'll need to take on board. But most of the time, we'll take very seriously about the proven technology embedded in that in order to make it useful to our asset. So I think I would encourage Canadian sort of SME, if you have a good and useful proven product with Western sort of experience, interested to bring it to our marketplace, you will be almost every time will be mostly welcome.
Thank you, Raymond. Steve, did you want to add to that, please?
Yeah. In the last 10 years' time, while we're working with our German colleagues, we always advocate the essence of combine the best of two worlds together. And then in the last 10 years' time, we have done a good job and successful. And then that's all come together because of the combine the best of two worlds. Means that I think technology the life cycle of technology is becoming shorter and shorter nowadays. Therefore, I think they emphasize, I think of course technology is important, but I think the people are all more important than the technology from my side. Therefore, I think if Canadian company want to be successful in Hong Kong, China, or elsewhere, the most important thing is to find a good partner that can bring the best, combine the best of two worlds together to form a synergy effect in Hong Kong and then sprinkle around this region. Therefore, if you could not find this partner, I think you have to go for find them because that's very important. From my experience in the last 4 decades in working in technology, people is the most important thing. Therefore, without a good partner in this area, I think it's quite difficult to extend your business in Hong Kong, China, elsewhere. Yeah, that's my humble suggestion.
That's great, Steve. Thank you very much. I think for all of the participants, there's been a wealth of information here. You have some great contacts. You've got some great content in the PowerPoints. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And for those of you back in Canada, know that there's regional offices of the Trade Commissioner Service across Canada, from Prince Edward Island all the way to the West Coast. So if you're looking to connect in, let us know. We can make that connection too. But in the meantime, have a lovely evening and upcoming weekend coming through, and I'll pass it back to Noah to wrap things out.
That's great. Thank you so much, Patricia, and you know, of course, extremely interesting presentations today. I do wish we'd had more time. I saw there was a few terrific slides that that Jiawan had to skip over in terms of what China is doing to address climate change and environmental concerns that we were discussing today. It was a shame that we didn't have more time. But anyway, again, thank you to our 4 speakers from Swire, Billion Group, and of course EDC, and last but not least, of course, our host Patricia Elliott and the Trade Commissioner Service in Hong Kong. To echo Raymond and Steve's comments, lots of potential opportunities for Canadian entrepreneurs here. Please remember that these presentations will be made available after the webinar, so you can review if there was anything you missed. And of course, I'm sure that our presenters will be, you know, very keen to hear from you if you have something in your commercial pipeline of innovations that you want to discuss. You know, that's going to bring us to the end for this evening or this morning. 多谢, 非常感谢. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and have a great evening or morning.